Ladies and gentlemen, here to present Forget the News, Read the Charts is Mr. Oscar Carboni of LiveWithOscar.com. Welcome to Traders Corner, Oscar.
Thank you for the invitation, and a round of applause to all you great presenters before me. You're learning a lot out there, and this is fantastic for all of you. I will say that I've been trading for over 41 years now. Grew up on the exchange as an 18-year-old kid and literally held point and figure charts before there were computers. This is actually one of my charts from the days of old. And I have to tell you, there is no better roadmap than reading a chart. That is absolutely the roadmap, if you will, to further pricing. And no matter what you look at, no matter who thinks or feels anything, has nothing to do with where the market is going to go. If you want to know where the market is going to go, you need to view a chart. That is the roadmap. So I have a thesis that I put out, which I also did back in 2007, calling the top of 2007-8. Forget about that. I put out a thesis earlier this month that the bottom has formed using charts. I received a lot of pushback afterwards, as you might have imagined, right? But most of that pushback was I feel, I think, and let me tell you right now, when you feel or think, that is a useless opinion, has nothing to do with where the market's going to go. The charts will tell you where the market is going to go. I promise you. Now, I have nothing to sell you. There's nothing I'm going to sell you at the end of this presentation. My job is to show you market direction, where it looks like we're going next, to prove to you the bottom's in and give you some good information that you can use moving forward. Now, I am always live in a trading room 24 hours a day. It is absolutely free. It is just my hangout where I live and breathe, and you can come join me there anytime you want at livewithoscar.com. No credit cards, no nonsense. I do this for myself. I do this for a living. I sit here 24 hours a day, and if you want to come hang out with me in my live trading room, you feel free. So here's what I want to show you. First off, right off the bat, we're in a live trade. My analysis, which I do analysis every evening for the next day. So I've got a live trading plan, sits in my back pocket. I've got a live trading plan at all times to tell me what to do. The thing is, it's not based on momentum. It's based on what the charts told me to do today for tomorrow. The charts told me to buy NASDAQ at 12,530 to 12,525 this morning. Hop in long. The NASDAQ dropped to 12,524. And stopped right where we got long. Bottom proof is in the charts, kid. Let me show you how I can do that. Check this out. Right at the bottom, we got long today. Did the same thing yesterday. So I have shown a crazy looking chart. This chart in some of my nightly YouTube videos, I do one just about every night. And in that video, I said, traders, I am better at analysis than anyone that's ever come down the pipeline. And I am telling you that that is the bottom of a market. Okay. So, of course, I received all kinds of crazy pushback. Let's go find out now by looking at other markets. That was the S&P, by the way. Big bottoming action. So, is that true? Do charts work? You can try to trade momentum. You can look at what the market might be doing at a minute in time and try to jump in. Hogwash. You want to know what to do? You devise a plan the day before, and you act out that plan the next day. Now, it's very easy to come up with a trading plan, but can you come up with the right one? The way to do that, I promise you, is to just look at these charts. I am Wall Street, kids. I started at 18 and stayed there until they sent us home because the floors went electronic. I was there my whole life. And I am telling you now, there's nothing I've ever done that ever worked better than using these charts. And they're simple. Right off the bat, a few days ago, the market comes down and we create that something I like to call a bull flag. That's this formation right here where the market runs up quickly and then consolidates. And there was a sell signal that came out and everybody seemed to be bearish. And I said I refuse to take a sell signal where? At the bottom of a bull flag. Never do that. It's a bull flag. The whole street can see it. Doesn't matter what signals come out. Doesn't matter what somebody from Morgan Stanley told you. If that chart shows you it is in a buy area, the whole entire street knows that. And this stuff gets programmed into algorithms. What happened when we hit that spot Watch this. That's what happened when we hit that spot. We went straight up. Now, let's go back to whether or not the bottom is forming. This is the E-mini S&P daily bar. Now it had this crazy double top, top one, came down, made a second top, and now is building a bull flag. You are going to get through the double top above that bull flag and continue on. And the reason will show up as we look over more charts. So that's my opinion, but it's based purely on the chart. Personally, I was bearish on this day. I kid you not. My personal opinion was bearish. 41 years in this business, and I thought it was going to go down. Thank God I use a chart, and I keep my stupid personality out of this. The chart told me not to sell, and look what the market did. All right, so S&P is starting to work its way higher, but we're going to look at a bunch of charts together, and if I can show you that the bottom is in, fantastic. At the end of my chart segment, if you've got questions, line them up. I'll be more than happy to answer. So that was your E-mini S&P. Let's go over to a NASDAQ chart. On the NASDAQ, same sort of action. We are now starting to put in bottom type formations. You are now in, same sort of thing happened. Bearish signal came out right here. We refused to take it at the bottom of a bull flag, one of our OMNI Trading Academy rules. And what happened? Straight up to the top of the flag. Now, it's not just doing that. It is also getting back above this support resistance line. And I am telling you right now, stuff like this is absolutely programmed into Wall Street's algorithms. I know this. I grew up on Wall Street. They're looking at these charts and exactly where the market went as high, where it went as low, and they program that stuff in. It's market geometry. And if the market geometry is programmed in, I promise you they will come by at certain levels and sell at certain levels. So we're getting back into or above that support line, which held every time it hit. Held, 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 held. That was a hold, and now it's challenging. The bull flag tells you you're moving higher. So we are starting to move up, but there's plenty more proof. Watch this. You take the Russell 2000. Russell 2000, look at how the channels now are starting to move higher. We had something called the Golden Cross just take place. Golden Cross is something that Wall Street heavily watches. And for me, I do not try to reinvent the wheel. That's a wheel that Wall Street uses, goes on their car, goes round and round real fast. I simply just use the same wheels. No need to play scientist. So the street seems to think that this Golden Cross is the end all be all of a down move and starts an up move. Well, look what's been happening since. The up move, just like Wall Street thinks will take place, is taking place. You've had the Golden Cross. We've been rallying ever since. Now we're in this really smart channel going up. The difference is all the channels were moving downwards until recently. We are finally starting to see upward movement. Nice channel, but there's plenty more to look at. I've got a whole list for us. Check this out. The Dow Jones Transportation Average. Now, here's an interesting chart. Check this out. There's all kinds of good stuff on this chart. First, the death cross, which is the exact opposite of the Golden Cross. It's when the larger averages get above the smaller averages. The Golden Cross is when the larger averages, like the 200, get below the smaller averages, like the 50. So here you had the Golden Cross, and look what happened. Immediately it went down. Right there you had the opposite. Golden Cross, death cross. Opposite, right? The market dumps. All right. So we know Wall Street was watching that. Well, look what happened right here at the Golden Cross. Boom. What the first thing they did was create this crazy channel. Go straight up. Why? Because algorithms are seeing this stuff. They know what to look for. The beauty is we can see it with our eyes on a chart. It's so simple and clear, and I can show this to you 1,000 times over. So they pick up on right here, the Golden Cross. It immediately starts channels working upwards. This double top, if you ask me, is no longer a double top. It's probably now going to disappear. We can get rid of all of this and say, all right, it did pause for the double top, but that's old news now. And let's start looking at what's really happening as we are moving higher. In another one of our major indices, we are starting to rock and roll towards the upside. But I've got a lot of proof to show you that the bottom's in. You'll see there's plenty of good stuff to look at here. Now you've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Look at what's happened here. Right when the Golden Cross took place, it immediately started to build a pennant flag. Now that pennant will break out and most likely towards the upside. Of course, no one knows for sure where a pennant flag will break out, but it started at the Golden Cross. The markets are all starting to work their way higher. And check this out. When we do get above this top line here, wait until I show you what that is part of. The all-time high in the Dow Jones. Watch this. We're going to move back a little bit more. The all-time high that was ever made. Check this out. This is how well the algorithm works, or algorithms, and of course the geometry works on charts. That trend line goes all the way from the absolute high, goes straight across. I am telling you now, the market is looking to break above that resistance because all of its sisters are pointing towards the upside. That is the last, by the way, as the last piece of resistance that starts from the upside, working its way down. Everything I've found in the last month is now working its way up. That's different. That is the chart now showing you that bottom is in and it wants to start working its way higher. And I was so brazen once I made that call that the bottom was in, that I put my year-end projections on my whiteboard in my videos the night I presented this. I just haven't mentioned them to anyone yet. I stuck them on my whiteboard silently. My year-end projections. I just didn't tell anyone they're out there. You can see them if you look at my videos. Every year I do a year-end projection based on charts, right? Every year for 15 years, we have been right on our year-end projections. Last year, we got within a few hundred points of it, but I happen to have 2 year-end projections last year. We nailed the first one and almost hit the second one. All of that is based on technical analysis only. And I'll show you way more charts. Now, we've got something else. And for you bond traders, I'm just going to throw something else in for bond traders because there's a very interesting chart I pulled a week or two ago and told my traders, please be careful if you're in bonds right here. So none of this existed, by the way. I mean, I could delete it all real fast if you want me to. We were right here. And I said, look, we are in a spot now where you've got to keep your eye on the chart. Why? Because I am not the only person that spots where support and resistance is. The street understands this stuff. So bond traders, keep an eye on this chart was my message when we were here. Add in what's happened since then, and we have absolutely dropped, right? And now the patterns are starting to look this way, more so than the upwards. So we're starting to head down in a channel, broke support, which generally holds inside of this big channel, support taken out and below the 50 bar moving average. Algorithms picked right up on that and started slamming the bonds. So for you bond traders, I know that's not part of the indices I'm showing you. Very interesting chart. It was extremely interesting 5-7 days ago. It still is. Keep your eye on that chart if you're a bond trader. Remember, traders, this is a very risky game. Never, ever, ever trade stocks, commodities, futures, ETFs, options. I don't care if you're trading crypto. I don't care if you're going to trade cards with your friend, baseball cards from 70 years ago. Put your stops in first. This is a risky game. Don't trade anything without putting in a protective stop. In fact, with stops in mind, for you traders that are out there, I got a quick question for you. What kind of a car do you drive? You don't have to answer me. If you're driving a car, and it's worth anything like a car is worth today, would you drive that car off the lot without putting insurance on it? A brand new car, would you drive it off the dealer lot out into the street without putting insurance on it? I think your answers are no, right? Why would you put on a commodities or stock position that's probably worth more than your car without putting the stop on first? That's your insurance. Put your stops on, put them in first before you get involved in the trade, kids. All right, let's keep moving. So that was bonds. Now we're going to go out a little bit. So the daily charts are all pointing higher, right? So let's go look at some weekly charts now. This is the NASDAQ Weekly bar. Now, this is a very interesting chart, and I promise you, everything you see on this chart is programmed into Wall Street's algorithms. So we're going to go back and take a look at something called the 200 bar moving average, one of the major keys on Wall Street. I don't know why they like it. I don't care. I like it because they like it. So One of the main tenets is you buy or sell when you get to the 200 bar moving average, especially on a weekly chart. A weekly chart means every one of these bars represents 1 week's worth of trading, right? So full 5 days in each line. So let's go back now and look at this 200 bar moving average. Let's just see what happens with the NASDAQ weekly and the 200 bar moving average. It never breaks. It just never breaks. Look at this thing. Never. It gets near it, but it doesn't break. Oh, it broke once only. When? 2008, 2009. That was it. It's the only break. Now you know you can count on that 200 bar moving average on your NASDAQ weekly. Keep that trick in mind, kids, but let's see more. Now we go back. Check this out. It hits one time. Do you know when? During COVID. This was the COVID crack. And it still did not break the 200 bar moving average. And then this happens. For the first time since 2008, we start breaking the average, and the market is starting to look terrible. But look, you get above the 200, you get out of this crazy channel, no more channel, and this is taking off. And I tell you right now, that's the form of a bull flag, and this thing is going to go. Where is it building? Above the 200 bar moving average. Does Wall Street know this? Absolutely. That's why we've been moving higher lately. But that is not the only one. Let's look at something else, E-mini S&P. If we go to the E-mini S&P, you will see the same sort of action, except for the difference is it gets violated. S&P and the 200 bar moving average, it doesn't hold like the NASDAQ does. The NASDAQ, 100% accountable at the 200 bar moving average on your weekly. But the S&P tends to break it sometimes, so it's different. All right, but we're going to look at it. S&P, what makes this chart so interesting? I'll show you right now. This is an epic breach of resistance. Why? On a weekly chart, no matter how many times the market tried, Wall Street and algorithms came in and sold the crap out of this every time it got near what's an established resistance line. Every time. Boom. Every time. Look at this. And finally, you get above. Not only do we get above, but we get above and start doing what? Building a new channel. Now channels are all pointing higher. In fact, almost every chart I have pulled have channels now pointing up instead of down, which is what we've had for so long. That, my friends, I am telling you now, there's momentum shift. The market has shifted. There has been a huge fundamental shift from bearish to now bullish, and I'm proving that to you with these charts. So epic breach of resistance. You can now start counting on buying big dips as opposed to selling big rallies. I have been a seller of rallies. In fact, on my whiteboard, I do a YouTube video just about every night. And on my whiteboard since January has been the statement, do not fall in love with the upside. Meaning I remind people every night, if you get these big rallies, don't fall in love with them. Well, I have removed that from my whiteboard a couple of days ago, maybe 5 videos ago. I removed it from my whiteboard. Now I am starting to fall in love with these upside rallies. That's a big shift from a guy like me. I am very good at what I do. I promise you, for me to flip is because the charts have flipped. My personality has zero to do with this. In fact, I have traders that follow every one of my trades every day. And God forbid I start thinking. If I start thinking for a moment, we're all dead. So thank God I don't do any thinking. I use the charts. When I think, we have a losing day, which is why I try not to. The charts think for me. Let's continue on. So we looked at some weeklies. Now I'm going to take you to some stocks. Let's go look at the biggest stocks that are out there. This one, in fact, I've been telling people about this stock for the last few weeks, 5-6 weeks now. Meta. Take a look at what happened with Facebook. Right down here, I did a video. In fact, I did a live webinar for Meta stock, presented this chart and said, look, Meta is finally trying to make a stand. Right here, I said, Meta is making its stand. Well, since then, it has gone into this channel. Right? This was the new channel. It started to literally make a stand, started to move higher. Now this channel we can lighten up because we've moved out of this channel and we're in a new channel moving even higher. And we are starting to get above the 200 ball. Well, I shouldn't say that. We got way above the 200 ball moving average when we broke out of the channel. Look now. Look at how much higher that is. Above the 200, the street is watching. And proof in the pudding. When I told you Wall Street watches this 200 ball moving average and reacts to it, look what they did to Facebook when it finally got above the 200 ball moving average. The next thing is it opened this much higher and created some kind of weird looking bull flag. Maybe it's going to close the gap. Who knows? But you could see Wall Street absolutely reacted at that 200, right? They always do. So keep that in mind. It's a very strong average. Now, again, I could care less about it, but the street loves it, so I love it too. All right. So that's Facebook, and it absolutely is putting in a stand. I'm telling you now, Facebook's going to 220, 230 very easily. This is a very strong looking chart. What else is proving that the bottom is in? Now, Facebook is a major component in the stock market. And I am telling you, you're looking at a bottom here, right? It's almost V-shaped. It's not quite a V, but it's starting to V down here. You are starting to get what could be a V bottom, which I think already is, not could be. You're getting a V bottom here. Let's get rid of that extension. And it's a major component of the stock market, but that's only one. How about Netflix? What's that doing? Another major component in our stock market. Netflix, you couldn't ask for a better chart here. Look at this one. You've got fantastic bull channel, right? No more bearish channels. Let's go back. Hold on. This is why I'm telling you that things have changed. This is what charts were looking like. This is everything that we had to look at and draw channels on and do our flags and everything else we want to do. But everything's going down. Well, look, it has changed now. Everything's starting to head up. And you've got a nice looking bull flag in Netflix, another huge component to the stock market. You've got a nice flag. I think it's going to move higher out of that flag because that's what flags usually represent, albeit this is a really big flag, so it's got a lot of movement. But the purpose of this video is to show you that everything's starting to work its way back up now. No longer lower. Now, this flag, by the way, if you're a flag user, could actually be this instead. Well, let's do it a different way. You can take this line and say, well, the meat of the flag is here with just a few jet throughs, right? And that's your flag. Either way, that is a bull flag. It's pointing towards Netflix moving higher, another huge component to our stock market. How about Tesla? Another big one, right? Look at Tesla once again. Oh, in fact, fantastic. The last time I used this Tesla chart in a live performance like I'm doing now, we were right here at this spot. And here was my advice. It's still sitting here. Wait 2 days and watch this red channel. If it gets above the channel, you cannot short this anymore. Now, what does that mean? We were in this channel. And what you do is if you get near the top of this channel, you short it, right? That's just what you do. I gave them advice and said, if you get 2 days outside of this channel, no more shorting. I'm using technical analysis. I don't know what Tesla's going to do next, but look what it did. After 2 days above, it immediately started the up move. Now, Tesla is in a different type of channel, right? See, this channel is a happy channel. The red one was a sad channel. Happy channel, hooray, heading towards the 200 ball moving average, above the 50. Wall Street watches that one too. That's why it's on my chart. I am a product of Wall Street. You may have listened to and watched other people. Some of them have seen Wall Street, have read books. They've gone down. I grew up on Wall Street. I am telling you what I've got to tell you better than what anyone else has to show you. This is what happens. I'm simplifying it. Yes, there is much more hardcore analysis that we do to come up with our exact buys and sells. But I have to be honest, that's called my OMNI trading system. Oscar's Market Navigational Indicator. I would never show it on Zoom. I would never box it up. I'd never let you buy it online because it works. When you got a system that works, you don't mass produce it. What I do every 3 months, 4 times a year only, I hand choose out of a stack of applications. I hand choose 6 students only. I fly them out to Vegas They spend 5 nights with me, and I teach them my OMNI system, but it is not online. It is not on disc. You will never see it ever, not unless you come out to Vegas. Again, you don't mass produce a system that works. It'll crowd up the price ladders. You know, when you place those orders on the price ladders, 200, 300, 500. Well, if everybody bought your system and put an order in at the same spot, the system would no longer work. I would never sell my OMNI ever. I show it to 6 people at a time, 4 times a year. That's it, because I don't need the price ladders crowded. Just letting you know, if it's real, you shouldn't be able to buy it somewhere. Tesla, going straight up, looking fantastic. Watch what happens at the 200 when we get there. If it fails, Wall Street doesn't like Tesla, back to the bottom of the channel. If they like it, boom, you will get an explosion over that 200 bar moving average. Now, do they sell at the 200 bar? Yeah, you better believe it. That's what Wall Street does. Look, what happens at the 200 bar moving average? The sellers come out of the woodwork. So you don't need to see what an individual trader is doing. The street tells you what it's doing. They telegraph it on charts. Now, I kid you not. I showed you this trading plan, buying the low in NASDAQ today. This plan gets written the night before, and I have no chart in front of me during the trading day. Not a single chart. I don't want to see a chart during the day. I just act out. I just react when we get to my levels. All I watch during the day is a ticker. Why? Because I've already done my analysis. I don't need to see a live chart. Give me a heart attack. Should I buy? Should I sell? Insanity. I've done my analysis between 5 and 6 p.m. when the markets were closed. It's quiet. And then I act out my trading plan with you cats the next day, sitting in my live trading room, taking you through the trades. And you can't beat, I can't be lying to you, right? We bought the low in NASDAQ today. I've got OMNIACs all over the world that got involved in this trade at the low. That is because I don't think. I simply use charts. If I start thinking, I promise you, nobody would be listening to this webinar by now. I'd have no fans left. Another huge component to the stock market moving higher. Let's see what else we have. Do you think Amazon's a huge component to the stock market? I do. And look at Amazon. Channels were lower, right? Red channel pointing down, red channel pointing lower, horrible looking. Everybody's worried the stock market's crashing. We know that, but things have changed. There is becoming light at the end of our tunnel. We are now in channels moving higher. In fact, the 200 bar moving average, which sits right here, you tell me Wall Street doesn't key off of this bad boy, huh? Check this out. 200 bar moving average sits right here. Let me put a little pointer on that just to do it. Pointer, come out, please. Come out and play. All right. Look at that. You tell me Wall Street doesn't react. One of the best tips I will give you here is just react around the 200. If you got nothing else to do, you react around the 200 bar moving average. You're acting like a Wall Street professional. So Amazon is now moving up in upward channels, no longer in downward channels. I'm loving it. And where are we? At the bottom of a channel. Good spot to rally from. Like it did here, like it almost did here, but it caught the 50 bar moving average instead. Wall Street pays attention, I promise you. But they pay attention to simple things. You might think it's extremely complicated. They're paying attention to the simplicity I'm showing you right now, which is why the market bounces off those simple areas. I promise that's how it works. It just works that way. You can read books and they'll tell you other things, but this is just how it works. All right. Another huge component. All right. Look at Apple. And it already started to break out of the pennant flag. God, I drew the pennant flag last night. It didn't even give me a chance to show it to you. I just drew this last night. So Apple in a big pennant flag, right? It was in this red downward channel. Now it is working its way in an upwards green channel. Much smarter, much prettier, but it also has what I call a pennant flag, and the breakout is already starting. Now, I wanted to show this to you before that boss showed up because I wanted to prove to you how easily you can spot this and how well it works. But of course, I drew this up last night. Today happened, and it's already above my pennant flag. Point was, these things are telltale. And I promise Wall Street looks at this. This might seem simple to you. It's not as simple as you think. You have to be paying attention. All I'm trying to do is show you that direction has changed and that you can now start thinking towards upside more so than downside. That's what this whole presentation is about. And Apple is another huge component to the stock market. So let's go look. Does it work on crypto? Absolutely. Now, Bitcoin, what's ugly about Bitcoin is look at how bad it used to look. Down, bear flag, down into a channel, or I should say a pennant, breaks the downside of the pennant flag, but things have changed. Let me show you why. Oh, look, I forgot this was here, but this says OMNIBootCamp.com. If you would actually like to hang out with me or send in an application for one of my 4 times a year courses, go to OMNIBootCamp.com and fill out the application. I didn't know that was there, so I threw it in. Didn't know it was there, kids. Let's get back to the chart. All right, so Bitcoin, check this out. Now, this looks small what happened here, but let me blow this up for you. The reason why the chart looks very little down here is because it starts at 65,000 and works its way down. But let's now just remove some of the bars, and let me show you what actually is happening in Bitcoin. This thing is starting to go, kids. Look, Bitcoin has broken out of, now finally we're getting pennants that point up instead of down, right? This one was pointing down. Now we're getting pennants that are pointing up, this blue one. It has broken out of the pennant, and look at this whole piece being built above the 200 bar moving average. Wall Street is getting hot on Bitcoin again. Absolutely, positively, you can see it happening before your eyes, especially that we're above the 200 bar moving average. We got out of the pennant flags. The biggest thing is that we are now starting to trend this way and no longer this way, which was the downward trends. Now we're starting to trend up. You see, traders, even in crypto, I am telling you that my thesis that the bottom is in is in. Speaking of that, that does not mean that the market can't jerk around a little bit. Let me see if I can grab a trend line here. It doesn't mean that the market can't jerk around a little bit. And here, let me just pull this trend line for you so I can do a quick illustration, make it a little thicker. All right, so the market could absolutely do something like drop down here. In fact, let's get rid of the circles. They're kind of meaningless. They're just to show you what I'm looking at. The market could move around a little bit, right? And mess around. What I am telling you is that the ultimate low is in. This one down here, we've seen the lows. I'm going to make this line thick for us so that we don't forget it. The lows, my theory is that the lows are in. We will not get below this point again, this blue line. That tells me the lows are in, and we are now bottoming and heading back up. So, of course, I don't want to show you this chart for any other reason than to prove that, to mention that, yes, it could go down somewhat, but the bottom, as far as I'm concerned, is in. Let's go back to what we were looking at. So Bitcoin is starting to do the same thing that everything else is doing. And let's face it, Bitcoin dropped when the stock market dropped. Well, Wall Street's starting to like Bitcoin again, just like it's liking the stock market. Ethereum, same thing. Same sort of thing in Ethereum. Look at this. Huge, beautiful breakout in Ethereum, right? Bottom forming here. Boom. Bottom started to form into what I like to call some form of a pennant. Breaks out of the pennant. Now, just like Bitcoin, above the 200 bar moving average. And I promise you, Wall Street is paying attention to that. So if, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, if I'm right, the bottom is in, and we can absolutely start counting on being able to buy dips in the E-mini S&P. Traders, if there are questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. I just wanted to show you what I found over the last few days or last few weeks and make sure that you are looking at the markets in the very same way. If there are questions, to be honest, I can't see where they would be. I see Rob wrote some questions, but I don't see them here. Let me look underneath. So if anybody would like for me to pull up a chart, or if you had a question or two about some of the charts I have just shown you, more than happy to answer them for you. I would say, go ahead.
There's a questions heading in the control box where the admin chat is. That's where they'd all be. And I apologize for the lag, but the iPad starts to lag a little after a few presenters. I got to log out and back in.
No problem. So, yeah, I mean, I do see the question box. I see Joseph in there. but I don't see anything else. Maybe you could read them to me. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
You can scroll up and down in it. I've got the questions from everybody, but you started at 12:45. Great insights on bonds. Let me just make my box a little bigger. Can you analyze CL?
CL. Let's see what it looks like. Ugly. Do not like it right off the bat, but let's see what it's got going on. So again, I am not going to perform OMNI analysis. It would never happen live in front of a camera, but I'll show you the Wall Street style simplified analysis that will tell you what should happen next. So not quite sure what this is, but I'll tell you what I don't like about it. It's almost starting to do the opposite of what I just showed you in all the stocks. It's trending lower, not higher right off the bat. That just kind of looks ugly. These two averages, by the way, I leave them on the chart on the 50 and the 200. You've actually had what's called a death cross there. So for this CL chart, I'd be a seller of rallies if you wanted to know my larger type of analysis. If you wanted to know what I would do on a daily basis, of course, I could do my OMNI analysis. I would absolutely be selling this, not buying it. You can see the sell setups taking place here. You know, you even have little things happening here. Even though it's small, it creates a little flag first, right? And after the flag gets created, it breaks down further. So I don't like this very much. I think that I would be a seller of CL.
You got one for gold futures too, and I'm going to limit it at 2. If you want to do regular tickers, I've got Generac and Alibaba if you want to check those out.
Oh, so gold we're looking at, right? Let me pull up a gold.
Yeah.
We got. So gold, interesting. In fact, we did a really nice trade selling gold yesterday. So gold was, again, if you see how these channels work, and I tell you that Wall Street programs them into the algorithms, look at how gold held the channel, holds the channel every time it hits. As soon as it breaks, look at how Wall Street just comes in and abuses it, right? So we ended up short gold 2 days ago because of a great signal. I should say yesterday's trading, because of a great OMNI signal. Gold is now out of what was by the way, this is an older chart. This was a strong look at the time. But now, as you can see, we have broken the channel. Right? This channel is broken, looks terrible. We have made bear flag after bear flag, and you have some good downside coming in gold as far as I'm concerned. In fact, the shorter term channels now are these, right? Now you're looking at downward. You see it's projecting itself lower. So gold is probably going to go lower. And most likely, it's got to do with the dollar, which is starting to move higher. This is US dollar. The dollar is starting to move higher. I don't know why that did not show up there. Let me just do that one more time so we know what it is. All right, so this is the daily dollar. But look what it's starting to do. And it's only been temporary, but it is starting to work its way higher. But what I look at this thing as is it created a bull flag, which is sort of not really expected from the dollar, because lately the dollar has been bearish only. But it is now starting to show us a little bit of upside. And it's gotten above this resistance, which is probably what's putting the pressure on gold. What was that other stock you wanted me to look at?
You had 2 stock tickers. It was Generac, GNRC, and Alibaba, which is BABA.
And then we'll do BABA. All right. Generac.
And then we're running tight on time. I'm going to ask you to work to your offer.
So Generac, obviously the Wall Street's looking at the 50-bar moving average on this. That's what's sitting on my chart. And you can see them keying easily off of that. So you get the 50 MA so far right off the bat that you can see working here. I do like the fact that it's starting to work its way higher. Right? You see it's starting to finally work its way higher, but you got a huge amount of resistance to get past before you can do anything with this. And let's just see what the little channels are. So we got a little channel here, if you will. At least it's starting to form. I don't love it, but I think that you can move higher on, just the fact that channels are moving higher above the 50-bar moving average. So I would be a buyer of dips in Generac, but I don't really love it. Here's one thing let me just show you the one thing that I do see in Generac, and that is this. You are starting to put in a rounded bottom here. Look. The bottom is starting to get round here. So If you are a Generac fan, you certainly want to keep an eye on this. You may be putting in your bottom. You can buy dips in Generac, and then we got BA. And I hate it. I just don't like the look of it. I don't like anything about it. And I can see that it already fell out of what was a channel that was starting to form. So I don't like BA very much, to be honest. It just doesn't strike me as a chart I would want to be a buyer of. And you've got smaller channels working their way down this way. I think you should be a seller of rallies in BA, or maybe stay out for now. Traders, if you'd like to hang out with me, listen, it's really easy. If you just go to livewithoscar.com and either register or log in, this is all you have to fill out, and you will be in a live trading room with me. Next thing that happens is you end up here. You click Chat Live with Oscar. Click this, put in your username, and you will find me in this live room just about every day of my life, working out the trades that I have shown other traders. So what's normally in here, although it's empty at the moment, what's normally in here, there's a whole bunch of traders and cameras are on, but they're all watching me at the webinar right now. So no one's hanging out. But you will find me here in this live trading room every day. It doesn't cost you anything. And the only thing you have to get through with me is my crazy personality, because it is what it is. So here's what this looks like. You'd be in a live trading room. That camera is live right now, looking at me. The other camera would be facing me. You'd be here. You could ask me questions. I turn on the microphone. I speak back. And again, I'm not charging you to be here. I spent my life in a trading pit where I used to hang out with friends all day. When it got busy, you jumped in the ring and traded. And when it got slow, you hung out with each other. Well, this crowd hangs out with me. You are more than welcome and invited to hang out with me as well. So again, you can find me at livewithoscar.com pretty easily. Just go there and log in, and I'll be more than happy to spend time with you. You spend your time with me, and we'll get through these rough and tumble markets together. So anyway, at the end of my thesis, I think that I am right, and the stock market has put its bottom in, and will start to move higher, and we will take out this bull flag in the next few days. So, of course, we put our stops in first, and if wrong with day traders, we're out of the trade like that, and we develop a new opinion. Traders, thank you so much for tuning in. Much appreciated. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out there.